a live video of a portal being opened up over the top of a mountain. That looked like the solar eclipse in itself already. This is footage from a person. And it really looks like a vortex opening up. Like it's piercing through another dimension. And why is it light bearing through that? Or maybe that's a sign that we is under something. And that's light piercing through the veil, or what they like to call.
I've lived through this, the strongest earthquake in 140 years, John.
Look at all that. And it's not over yet because we've got the eclipse earthquake coming up on Monday. As Deborah Ross was telling us, it's going to be transformative here. It's for anybody who is in the area of technology.
Stay, please.
Did he just misread or misspeak? The eclipse earthquake, that's a pretty odd slip up.
If you're in the Northeast, you may have felt the 4.8 earthquake this morning. The earthquake hit around 10 this morning, just under 3 miles beneath the surface. A 4.8, which is pretty light in the grand scheme of things. Earthquakes are pretty rare in this area because it's not near a major fault line or a boundary, and this plate is pretty lazy, but there are still smaller earthquakes every 2 to 3 years, and bigger ones about twice a century on average. But the Northeast is above quite a few smaller faults, which are leftovers from when the mountains formed in ancient times. So researchers say it was probably due to that. But there is something interesting happening in the Atlantic Ocean I want to tell you about. A subduction zone, which is when one plate sinks below another, is inching its way westward from the Gibraltar Strait, which is around Portugal and Morocco. It's small and has been pretty quiet for the last 5 million years, but new estimates suggest that in 20 million years, it could break into the Atlantic Ocean in what's called a subduction invasion and begin a kind of ring of fire, similar to the high activity experienced in the Pacific Ocean. Basically, it could swallow up the water and close the Atlantic. Bring Pangea back so I can get cheaper flights.
So the 2017-2024 solar eclipse, a lot of people should notice by now. If you don't, then I'm guessing this is your date of you finding out about this. So the coincision of this eclipse pass is here in southern Illinois, also known as Carbondale, also known as Little Egypt. And this X right here is actually not the 2017-2024 total solar eclipse pass, but it's actually 2 fault line cracks that is going across America. 1,700 miles one way, 1,600 miles the other way, and the coincision is, as you can see, is the same, precisely the same location. X marks the spot. And that area just happens to be the New Madrid seismic zone. I showed this map already, and I'll just show it again for context. The New Madrid seismic zone is known for 3 great eclipses, and it's also, 3 great earthquakes, and it's also known as one of the biggest dangers to America. This is a map from USGS, and as you can see, talking about the highest hazards and lowest hazards, this is the bar, this is the meter, all right? And as you can see right here, where the X marks the spot, simultaneously with the eclipse and the earthquakes, the activity is very, very high, and the threat level and danger level is very, very high. So this is an exodus sign. An exodus sign. This is a sign of an exodus, a physical, spiritual, mental awakening, and exodus out of a system, and it's also a prophetic sign for a people. Book reference. The intersection of these 2 fault lines create an X at the New Madrid seismic zone, located in Missouri, just an hour-and-a-half drive or 30-minute flight from Carbondale, known as Little Egypt. What's particularly unsettling is the striking resemblance between the map of the seismic cracks and the paths of totality observed in the solar eclipse. The correlation in the paths and locations might invoke a sense of awe or terror, depending on one's perspective, and invites contemplation on the possible means or connection these natural phenomena might hold. And you can see the striking resemblance in Forbes magazine Doomsday Map or Doomsday Crack, because this would be the precise location of X marks the spot. The The unsettling parallels between the seismic crack and the path of totality are not lost on those who study them. Yet, the lack of public warning from scientists or authorities are baffling. It calls to mind scenes from disasters, movies like 2012, where the government concealed intimate catastrophic to avert panic. Could we be living in such scenario? Have those in power suspected a looming threat and chosen silence over alarm? These questions linger, leaving us to ponder the cryptic message that nature seems to be signaling and wonder if humanity is truly ready to face whatever may be coming. Now we see where Forbes get their prediction from. But trust me, it's way much more deeper than you think. This is an Exodus sign for a chosen people, for humanity, for the world.
Again, my flabbers have been gasted. I thought this commenter was lying, and it turns out that not only were they not lying, there's actually more to the story. Cicadas are the strongest urinators in the animal kingdom, so not only are they screaming, they're peeing like pressure washers. And while they're screaming and peeing, they're also doing each other at a rate at which they are being ravaged by a STD that turns them into zombies. To the zombie thing in a second, but there is something called the cicada, because when you walk around a forest that they are inhabiting, they are peeing so fast that it's like it's raining when you're walking through. So back to the nightmare STD situation. The STD fungus, whatever you want to call it, takes over the male and it rips its balls right off the body. When that happens, chalky spores are spread around to nearby cicadas. And once these cicadas are infected, the fungus also has a hallucinatory effect on birds. So to recap, the cicadas are screaming. The cicadas are pissing at a rate that it's raining in forests. They are zombies, and the birds are on LSD.
Imagine walking in the woods and getting your eyes shot out by cicada piss. Somebody need to introduce condoms to the cicadas. I can see the first case of a RICO with insects.
The human head remains conscious for around 20 seconds after being decapitated. A body decomposes 4 times faster in water than on land. Within 3 days of death, the enzymes from your digestive system begin to digest your body. About 153,000 people worldwide die every day. When a person dies, their sense of hearing is the last to go. You can't die of old age, only from diseases brought on by age. Men who are hanged get a death erection, known as rigor erectus. The Torotopsis dawni jellyfish is officially known as the only immortal creature in the world. It lives forever. More than 7,000 people die annually due to the doctor's bad handwriting. Left-handed people die 3 years earlier than right-handed people.
Demonic attachments and subliminal messages through movies. Let's talk about how that actually works. So there was a new movie that just released called Late Night with the Devil, and I went to watch it yesterday night at a movie theater, but I could not even make it past 30 minutes into the movie. And if you read here on the bottom, it says, in 1977, a live television broadcast goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. As a psychic, when I tell you that movie was heavily charged with demonic reptilian energy, I mean it. About 20 minutes into the movie, something like that, I get this very uneasy feeling, and I'm hearing my spirit team say, put a protection bubble around you right now, or we're gonna do it for you. And I also felt hands on my shoulders. It was like my spirit team, like kind of like charging me with good energy or protective energy, because the energy of the movie got very sinister very quick. And for some reason, my higher self, my intuition told me, do this hand symbol for protection, like the one that Christ or Jesus has. This. I believe also Shiva does this hand symbol, something similar to that. And here's the creepiest part. While I was doing the symbol, a whole minute later, one of the characters in the movie is presented, and the character's name is Christoi, like Christ. And in the movie, he is described as the shining light. And as this character appears on screen, he waves at people in this symbol. The same symbol I was doing in the movie theater to try to protect myself. That character represented Christ, but the whole movie's theme was about an interview with the devil. So the devil appears later in the movie. I couldn't even make through the movie. I literally was like, I gotta go right now, and I just bolted out of the movie theater. And the whole night I just felt uneasy, like I welcomed some kind of bad energy into me. And if you read the synopsis, it says it unleashes the devil or evil into the world's living rooms. So this movie, and they do this in Hollywood a lot, they will put sigils, symbols, symbolism, energies, subliminal messages, and feed them into your brain or unleash the energies into wherever you are. A movie theater, your home, outside, doesn't matter. This is why TV, it's called programming. It's programming you. We have to understand that we live in a holographic universe. Everything is frequency, vibration. If there are entities out there that can hop dimensions and are morphogenetic, meaning they can move in and out of material realms as they wish, why is it so hard to believe that they can attach to you through electricity, which is TV, or electrical wires that make the TV, the computer, the laptop work? A lot of people have encountered demons say they are energetic feeders. Same thing with reptilians, they are energetic feeders. So please be careful with the kind of media you consume, because you don't want something to attach to you. Also, if you want to ask me why I watched the movie, I was just curious because my intuition was like, there is some kind of subliminal hidden message in that movie.
I like how she felt the need to explain herself on why she went to go see a demonic movie at nighttime.
Stick around if you want me to blow your mind. Hue, man. Hue means an attribute of a color. Color is light. We are light manifested into physical form. If you know anything about electromagnetism, you know these mini torus fields create reality. They are the true atoms. Each torus field is one unit of light. So then you go to Genesis and look at what the first thing ever created was. Let there be light. Genesis 1:3. John 1:5. God is light. So this means atoms are one unit of light, and these atoms create everything. This means everything is God. You are God, and everything you see around you is God. We live inside of the mind of God. So God, Allah, and Elohim all add up to 26 or 62. Add that together, that is 8. Symbol for the 8 comes from the torus field. Everything is infinite, everything is light, and everything is God. There is no God outside of you. We need to stop worshipping these false humanistic gods within religion, and we all need to manifest the God mind, because we are all God. And this is why the Bible says, ye are gods, you are all sons of the Most High. We are microcosms of the macrocosm.
They've just done what in the UK? Yeah, finally, actually something good. Now, you may even be able to download all of your video games in under a second. So researchers here in the UK have actually just discovered a new way to essentially transmit data and be able to work on download speeds. Now, if you live in the UK, I'm sure you can relate to how flipping slow it is. Like, if you're trying to download the new COD at like 200 gigs, you will be waiting about a week. Like, the average download speed in the UK apparently is about 60 megabytes a second, but in the US it's nearly 300 megabytes a second. Like, how unfair is that? Even that is flipping slow compared to what could be about to come. So what these researchers managed to achieve was actually a rate of over 300 million megabytes a second. Like, that is absolutely an insane amount. Now, they were able to do this by using new wavelength fans that aren't in your traditional fiber optic cables. But it's very achievable to do, and this technique does technically exist already in the cables that are under your house right now. It just like needs to be turned on in basic terms. But with speeds like that, you would be able to literally download every single game you would want to download in like 1 second. It's nuts, like genuinely, like that is insane. So yeah, if this comes about, which is looking pretty likely, you will not have to be waiting around to download all your games anymore. They will just download pretty much instantly without you even looking at it. So yeah, make sure you hit that follow button, and I will of course keep you updated.
That is a pretty slow speed. And lucky for me, I don't play games. Hell, I almost quit elementary because they had too many recesses.
Magnetic field is a short distance. Any toy magnet 5,000 Gauss at the poles. Few feet away, the magnetic field becomes 0 Gauss. Because magnetic field is short distance, it's inversely proportional to distance cube. Earth has no magnetic field. All the scientists mistake. They lie that Earth has magnetic field. You use Gauss meter to measure Earth's magnetic field. At the imaginary magnetic poles, it's only 0.65 Gauss. At the equator, around the equator, imaginary Earth magnetic field is only 0.2 Gauss. There is no magnet. The smallest magnet, probably hundreds Gausses. You couldn't find a magnet 0.65 Gauss. How can Earth has a magnetic field? If Earth has magnetic field at the poles, only 0.65 Gauss, how can dozen miles away to the equator still got a 0.2 Gauss? Magnetic field is few feet away becomes 0. There's no magnetic field a short distance away from the magnetic poles. How can Earth's magnetic poles only 0.65 Gauss, but a few thousand miles away to the equator still got a 0.2 Gauss magnetic field? Totally impossible. Earth's magnetic field is imaginary. Because scientists don't understand why all the compasses point to north. They invent this Earth has magnetic field. It's totally mistake, stupid lie, stupid theory. All the compasses point to north because all the compasses point to 90 degrees to a current. The sunlight moves westward around the Earth about 1,000 miles per hour around the equator. That sunlight moving sunlight energy induce a weak electric current around the Earth. That current around the equator immediately is 0.2 Gauss. Immediately around the poles is around 0.65 Gauss. Because the circumference getting the poles becomes smaller, less resistance, so the current induced the weak current becomes stronger at the poles. That westward moving current induce all the compasses pointed to north, also produce polar light at night time. Scientists lie that Earth has magnetic field, and Earth has a magnetosphere extended to space 1,000 miles away to protect Earth from solar wind, to form violent belt around Earth. It's all lies. It's all lies. There is no solar wind, no violent belt, no magnetosphere. Earth has no magnetic field. Earth has no magnetic poles. It's all scientific lies. The compass pointed to north is because sunlight induces a westward moving current. That weak current produces trade wind, produces weather, power, everything. That's why all the wind, the trade wind, go westward around Earth. All the polar lights is swirling westward. You think about scientists lie everything. Earth has no magnetic field. While all the compasses pointed to 0.65 Gauss imaginary Earth magnetic poles, don't point to a MRI machine 30,000 Gausses, few feet away. Because Earth has no magnetic field, compass point to north is pointing to the westward moving current. That's why it's so unified. Everywhere compass pointed to north, because that current covers the whole Earth. Very simple. This is true mechanism of compass point to north and the polar light. All the scientists are wrong. I lied to you.
Humans who turned themselves into animals.
Jocelyn Wildenstein wanted to look like a cat. And now looks like this. Dennis Abner wanted to look like tiger. And now looks like this.
A tiger.
Eva Tiamat Medusa wanted to look like a dragon. And now looks like this.
A fierce dragon.
Toko-san wanted to look like a dog. And now looks like this. Ted Richards wanted to look like a parrot. And now looks like this.
A parrot.
Toru Ueda wanted to look like a wolf. And now looks like this.
A vicious werewolf.
Can't believe schools and organizations continue to use AI text detectors. They're incredibly easy to get around with just a few small tricks. Let me show you what people are doing. If you're not familiar, AI text detectors are supposed to catch cheaters using AI tools to write their papers and assignments. Unfortunately, a recent research study found that these AI text detectors have some shocking truths. Researchers just put the top 6 AI text detectors to the test. What they found out is by making simple text modifications, you can easily beat all 6 of them. What's funny is they already are effectively as an accuracy mark only at 39%, but by making these modifications, you can easily get them down to 15 to 17%. So how can you beat these AI text detectors? Well, it's pretty simple. It starts with just adding a couple of simple spelling mistakes and varying your lengths of text. By doing that, you're almost guaranteed to beat them. But you can go further than that, but those are the 2 most effective methods by far. The fact that AI text detectors can be so easily tricked brings a serious question to play, whether or not these are actually useful in a school setting. To me, it's time to reimagine the school assignment from the ground up. What are your thoughts and what are you seeing out there? Are you in an organization that is using an AI text detector?
I don't care what measures you take, always find a way to cheat. Just like my ex. Can't believe her.
Possible that our entire universe is the interior of an enormous black hole?
This will, well, probably not, but it's interesting.
It turns out that as long as the black hole is large enough, you would be okay inside the event horizon of a black hole.
So this is 100% true. It's the tidal forces that make you have a bad time when falling into a black hole. That's what causes spaghettification, which is the process in which you're stretched out into a line of atoms. I have a video on that tagged in the description. Importantly, however, the bigger the black hole, the less severe the spaghettification. Near supermassive black holes, it could take days to weeks to fall in, but you would only be shredded in the last few minutes before hitting the singularity.
But it's entirely possible that our observable universe right now exists on the interior of an enormous black hole.
So this is not so clear. I've read a few papers on the subject, but they're often sparse on the details. Most of them are building off the surprising numerical fact that the size of our observable universe is the same order of magnitude as a black hole of the same mass. And yes, that's surprising, but there is an underlying assumption here that's required to make this work, and I'm not sure it's justified. To make this work, we have to assume that outside the observable universe, there's only empty space, or nearly so. That alone is a huge red flag for me. These models typically don't presume that general relativity is wrong, which means that we would expect the same type of large-scale structure formation in the wider unobservable universe. Why then would we assume that the universe is empty except the black hole universe, rather than planets, stars, and galaxies forming in the usual way? Further, in such models, there's lots more empty space outside the observable universe than inside. An anthropic argument would then suggest that we would find ourselves in the nearly empty external universe rather than the much more dense black hole universe. There's also the rather serious issue that the Schwarzschild radius of the universe is not the radius of the observable universe, but we can ignore that for now.
Right? We know that black holes eat things and grow. If you were on the inside, this thing would be growing too.
As far as I know, and I could be mistaken here, these models don't really work if we assume that there's a dynamical universe outside of a black hole universe. In these models, the observable universe appears to be growing not because the black hole is actually growing, but because we're falling deeper in.
It turns out that the mathematics of the interior of a black hole is almost identical to the mathematics of the exterior of the black hole. This is actually what is going on. Mathematically, it makes sense as well.
He's right. The math does work given certain assumptions. There are some potential issues with the apparent hot Big Bang in the past, but at least one author has proposed that it was the bounce back from the original collapse that formed the black hole. However, this makes some critical assumptions about quantum gravity which may not be justified. It's a fascinating idea, but it's not something we have evidence for. This hypothesis introduces more assumptions, like assumptions about quantum gravity and assumptions about the homogeneity of the universe, than standard cosmology does. So Occam's razor tells us that we probably don't live in a black hole.
Y'all think we're in a black hole? I mean, space is all black. That might just be what it is.
Everyone's talking about the 4.8 magnitude earthquake that happened in New Jersey this morning. But what I would like to say is, even though you're not going to hear this, there are various other earthquakes that are happening all over the world right now. And what I would like to tell you is, we know just a few days ago, 2 days ago, there was that huge earthquake in Taiwan. And that's not even finished yet, because what we're seeing right now is only the beginning of what's going to happen on this earth. And this message is not to instill fear, because, we don't operate by fear, but we operate by faith. But what I want to tell you is, we need to discern the times that we're living. And so prayers go to everyone who are in these cities. But all I can tell you is prepare. Get your house in order. Prepare, because we are about to see more and more things like this happen. And this is just one thing of many that's happening. CERN's firing up. They're going to be opening up portals. So we're going to be seeing many things happen over the next few weeks.
Seem like once these quakes start, it's a chain reaction. I can see more definitely coming in the future.
How animals with Down syndrome look like. Lions. Giraffes.
That thing looks CGI.
Tigers. Cats. Monkeys. Sloths. Dogs. Pigeon.
He don't know what's going on.
Owls.
He look blowed.
Yo, TikTok. Here's a fun fact. If you walk into a 24-hour fitness, somewhere inside the building, there's an actual picture of what our Earth looks like. It looks similar to this. So why were we taught that the Earth is round? Have any of you guys actually seen what our Earth really looks like? And this is for educational purposes. Run that video, comment below. We're going to hear the rest of the story from this gentleman right here.
We all know the Earth is actually... Okay, no, we're not doing that. What? Yeah, we're doing this? For real? Why do I have to be that guy? What is beyond the ice wall of Antarctica? Disclaimer, obviously a theory and should be considered for entertainment purposes only. Yes, this is the ridiculous Earth plane theory, or at least a part of it. Now, personally, I think this map is complete bullcrap. There's just countless evidence that goes against it. Before ever even considering a theory, you always need to look for some sort of tangible proof. And these mysterious blue shards reported in a leak from Antarctic research labs are a little more revealing. They were leaked by this helicopter engineer who was contracted to work at McMurdo Station in Antarctica from 1997 to the year 2000. And if you don't know, McMurdo Station is usually where shit goes down. So this engineer, let's call him Jimmy Boy, claimed that he befriended a few of the scientists doing research there in 1998. The scientists told him that they had two types of ice they worked with down there. There was this ice that they drilled cores out of boreholes in the ground that was cold to the touch, usually clear or some shade of white, and melted into water. Almost all of it is covered with this type of ice, which is just normal ice. Clearly, this wasn't their main focus of research. The only times they ever actively study this ice is when film crews from like National Geographic came down to film a documentary. The other 95% of the time, they studied the forbidden sky ice, totally different than the ice that we're used to. Jimmy wasn't allowed in the labs where they studied sky ice because it was, you know, super duper top secret. But one time, one of the scientists he got close with showed him a piece of the ice, and it was unlike any other matter he's ever seen on Earth. First of all, you couldn't touch it with your bare hands and had to wear your heavy-duty South Pole exploration gloves when holding it because of how cold it was. Secondly, as you could tell, it was this solid deep blue color, allegedly composed mainly of oxygen, and is why they called it sky ice. And oh man, I haven't even scratched the surface of how deep this goes. Oxygen has a freezing point of about negative 218 degrees Celsius, which is when it turns into a solid, so you'd practically get frostbite just by looking at it. Jimmy held it for a bit with his gloves, of course, noting that it was lighter than regular ice, almost like he could have thrown it up in the air and it would have floated back down. It was also slightly flexible and completely opaque, so you couldn't see through it at all. And it didn't even melt into water when it got warm, but just continually shrank until it ceased to exist, likely turning directly into oxygen gas, which is why they had to study it in Antarctica. They couldn't even transport it to anywhere in the world before it disappeared. The Russians knew about this too, and it's part of the reason they all have research stations down there. After 15 minutes or so, the sky ice was almost completely gone, and Jimmy asks his research friend where they even get this ice from. And this is where it gets interesting, because to that, the scientist replied, they get it from the wall. According to him, if you go deep enough, hundreds of kilometers inland from the coast, you'll run into a huge wall in Antarctica that contains this sky ice, the biggest natural structure in the world. This sounds a lot like the infamous ice wall from the pancake Earth theory, which states there's a giant wall of ice that surrounds our entire planet, and there's even more land beyond this wall if you somehow manage to get past it, including the legendary lands of Atlantis, Mu, the Garden of Eden, and even Asgard. Obviously just an incredible stretch of a theory, but interesting to see the ice wall mentioned in a scientific setting here. Now, buckle in, because this is where it actually gets insane, in case you felt like it wasn't already. The US has known about this sky ice for decades, and back in the 60s, they actually tried boring a tunnel through the ice wall. They built a special boring machine made for the super cold temperatures of the sky ice wall and started digging. For the first 2 miles or so, the floor was solid rock, but after that, even the ground under them became the bright blue sky ice, until they got about 5 to 10 miles deep after an entire year of boring, which is pretty damn far and still no sight of the other side. When they realized the tunnel was shrinking and eventually got so small that they could barely even move their machine anymore. Turns out sky ice, when exposed to warmer temperatures, just dissipates into thin air, but in colder temperatures, like inside the tunnel, it regenerates itself. Eventually, the tunnel got so tight, it became too difficult to continue boring, so they scrapped the project, ditched the machine, and after many decades, the hole they dug into the wall has now been completely sealed. Now, some people say this sky ice wall sounds almost exactly like what would be called the dome or the firmament in the horizontal Earth, or at least fragments of it, and even the most popular book in the world had something to say about it. Ezekiel 1:26 reads, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone." Now, whether you believe in the Bible or not, we can all agree it is by definition a historic text. Text that was written sometime in history. Firmament over their heads, appearance of a sapphire stone. I mean, I really don't want to believe this is true, and who knows, maybe this entire sky ice Antarctica story is just completely made up, but as always, what if?